Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever shorting. Today we're going to take a look at Prodigal Son. It's a Wild West comic book, and unlike yesterday, I'm not going to spend quite a lot of time talking about problematic phrasing and name dropping. Instead, I'm just going to be kind of talking about how to do a good Wild West comic book, because this is a good Wild West comic book. It's kind of nice to have one that just kind of does what it's supposed to do, does what I expect this kind of comic book to do. Don't get me wrong, one of my favourite things in the world is playing around within the genre or within genre expectations. You've got to look at things like Undone by Blood before Aftershock became a dumpster fire of a company, or Prairie Gods, which I'm still really hoping I can get hold of a final issue of, because Madcap Studios and Diamond UK have had a falling out. But then there's just like other Wild West comics out there. At the top end of that scale, I'm going to say Seven Deadly Sins from TKO, and I mean, not necessarily the bottom end of it, but just, functional, but not necessarily blowing my mind, Blood Brothers Mother from Distillery, which is a perfectly functional comic book. So in the middle of that is Prodigal Son. It feels like a bit of a passion project, I'd say. I don't want to lean too much into this. I've had this conversation before in longer videos about creators who have ties to other media who might be putting something like this out so that they can use it as a pitch for a TV show. I don't think this is the case, but the guy, well, one of the guys who created it and came up with the plot for it, not the guy who scripted it, they were comic book writers brought in to script this kind of thing, is Kreese. I actually forgot his real name, Ka-Pow, I want to say. But he's the bad guy from Cobra Kai and also that Karate Kid movie that one time. Well, 2 times, I suppose, really. And it does feel like there's a little bit of an author insert here. We do have the grizzled old bounty hunter stroke bandit that I think bears a passing resemblance to Victor Kreese, or a slightly younger Victor Kreese anyway. But I don't really mind it because I feel like that look is of its time really effectively. And it does things that I like. It doesn't necessarily have a big cast of characters doing interesting things and getting you to reevaluate how you engage with character archetypes of the Wild West genre, like Seven Deadly Sins does. But it still feels like a tighter, more directed story than Blood Brothers Mother, which is a little bit more rambling, a little bit more. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm yet to find that solid thread to make me want to engage in it more. This one is a revenge story. It is much more simple, but I don't mind that at all. It works really quite well within the Wild West genre. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've almost finished reading Lonesome Dove after many, many a month, very solidly picking through that, which does a whole bunch of things really effectively over a slow burn of a novel. This one, because it is focused on just one thing, it feels like it can be tied to storytelling, but it still has room to surprise me. We have a kid whose entire family and entire wagon train was murdered by a bunch of bandits, and he hid. He's picked up his father's silver star and is going after the gang. Now, this is just a kid. I'm going to say, I don't know, maybe 13 years old. I'm really bad at judging the age of this kind of thing, unfortunately. Not helped so much by the fact there's an awful lot of very cross hatch shading on almost every character, which means everyone looks old and grizzled, even this child, even the horses. But I like that as a stylistic choice. Not complaining, just entertaining. But he's going after this gang where he meets the aforementioned grizzled, I think, bounty hunter, but maybe not. Maybe there's more going on there. Who's also heading in the same direction for his own revenge. And I kind of like that this gives both characters a solid reason to head in the same direction, but also equally good reasons to butt heads. They are not friends. It is barely an arrangement of convenience, and this gives them a chance to actually explore their own narratives and their own motivations, which I really quite like. Setting-wise, it does a fantastic job as well. It doesn't just fall into that very hokey. I mean, the filter that they use when TV shows are shot in Mexico, shall we say, it does a little bit more than that. The artist and the colorist really understand how to use fire as a lighting effect, especially at night, so you get really deep, rich shadows. The inking is quite heavy, but in a way that I really do like, so I've, again, no complaints over that one. And the pacing seems pretty good. There is very little in terms of excitement that happens in the first one, but it still feels like there's tension to it. We get a sense that because of the aforementioned relationship between these two people, that they don't trust each other enough to go along in the exact same thing. So we get people being stabbed in the back, twists in the tail, things that drive the story on in ways that aren't just a straight path, which is good, but it still feels like we have a direct line to an end game, and I don't mind that at all. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens in the next issue. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. That's it for me for now, though. Until I see you all again, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye!